Coronavirus, 1 year later. We take you back to this month, 2020, where in our newsroom, we didn't know anybody infected with COVID until Matt Schulte. We followed his story, and this year, I went to finally meet him in person. Hi.
Hello.
We meet in person.
Finally.
Yes.
At his home in the Fairfax district.
Hi. I met you on Zoom.
I meet Matt Schulte and family for the first time.
What's it like to get sick with the coronavirus?
Let's go back a year when the nation first went into lockdown. We knew so little about the novel coronavirus.
That sounds painful. Each night on the Fox 11 News, I'll be checking in with Matt.
Schulte was the first person Fox 11 had ever met with COVID-19.
Matt Schulte is sharing his story.
My chest felt incredibly heavy. It was like the heaviest that it had felt. I had a sore throat from basically just top to bottom of my head.
Yeah, I wish I had somebody else's experience to sort of bounce off of or have an idea of what I was heading into and have some sort of hope. I think that the scariest thing was the fear of the unknown and not knowing.
In March of 2020, Schulte and his girlfriend went to Aspen. He got sick, flew home, and went to the ER.
I didn't really have anywhere to turn to. The doctors at Cedars and that I was dealing with, they seemed to know about as much information as I knew. I was the one feeding information to the CDC and to the LA Department of Public Health.
Wow, you look amazing. We talk by Zoom every day for a month.
I'm still positive, I'm still contagious, I'm still shedding the virus. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's albuterol sulfate.
And I got so many messages through Instagram and people, worried that they may or may not have it. People that, thought that they had it and just wanted to know what they could do to sort of help themselves. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, but I was able to talk about what I was able to do, what helped me.
My body felt like it was just ice. Yeah, I don't know.
Like you got some good buddies behind you.
Yeah, they're ready to go outside, but I don't know if you can see them.
Nice to meet you.
How are you feeling?
I'm fine.
He quarantined at his girlfriend's place for 38 days.
I don't know. I felt sort of like a leper.
I've never seen him that scared, thinking that he might die, and like seeing him at one point, he was wrapped up in a blanket on the couch, shivering because he was almost hypothermic.
Both are photographers. They shoot hotels and travel.
Yeah, I don't know if you can.
Beautiful.
If you can see that.
It felt like every night I was sort of watching my own eulogy. I didn't know the next morning whether or not I was going to wake up. Are these photos from Aspen going to be the last photos that they use of me? Because that's how it goes. So
the whole time, Schulte was a case study for medical research, testing over and over again. And then came that day, negative test cleared him from quarantine.
I did test negative.
Wow. You must be so excited.
I'm very excited. I'm still not completely out of the dark yet.
We now know so much more about the coronavirus.
How do you look back at this pandemic?
I wish that the norm was to take it more seriously.
As for them as a couple, they built on their bond and got a place together. What would Danielle tell her children?
I hope that they never would have to experience something like what we went through, because that was just, it was awful. How would I even describe it to them? A pandemic, like how does anybody actually know what that means without living through it?
Schulte and Hamilton continued to build on their photography business, Matt reflecting on what he went through.
It made me feel more mortal, if that makes sense. And I feel like I have a newfound perspective and respect for my health, for being alive.
Of course, imagine the fear, because we do know 500,000 Americans have died from the coronavirus. Here's an interesting note. Danielle never was sick when we interviewed Matt, but she did have traces of COVID. She now thinks she may have had COVID a month before he did, because at that time she'd been very sick.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so any long-term health impact on either of them?
He says he feels fine. no other symptoms. But if he ever does get like a little bug or get a little sick, it's a trigger for him. He's thinking, oh my gosh, do I have COVID?
And by the way, after talking to him via Zoom, via Skype for all that time, what was it like for you to see him in person?
Yeah, I think we forgot that we'd actually never met in person because we were like, hey, oh yeah, wait, I never met you actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of really nice to see them in person. They're doing well.
Good to see that.